What's going on, everyone? We are back for another live edition of the Bleed Los Podcast Carne Asada. We've got a lot to discuss tonight. The Dodgers and Padres are battling hard for the NL West crown. More reinforcements are on the way. And what do our boys in blue have to do during the last month of regular season play? All that and more coming up next. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a live edition of the Carne Asada. We have got Cody, aka Canelo, in the house. We have got Anthony to break it all down for you, and producer Roger is behind the scenes. As you know, I'm Drea. We are giving you a little pregame chat and recap of all that happened during the Padres and Rockies series. And just look forward to tonight's series opener with the Reds. But before we get into all that, we want to let you know about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat and check out DodgersBeat.com. What's up, fellas? How are you? And are you ready for the last month of regular season baseball?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm doing good. Feels like we just started doing these shows. Like we're talking about Japan and all that, and now here we are, straight run. Most fun part of the year.
Yeah, I mean, seasons went by fast. 31 games left. You know, a lot's happening with the Dodgers right now. The standings right now, they're currently tied in the NL West. I mean, I remember in the winter, everyone thought the Dodgers were, the evil empire. They ruined baseball, and now they're struggling to even, stay afloat in their own division, or even like with how competitive the National League is, just even keep a playoff spot right now. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting last final, 5 to 6 weeks of the season. And I'm definitely ready to talk about these, these 6 games that we played against the Padres.
Yeah, since last we spoke, there was 2 series against the Padres and a Rocky series sandwiched in the middle of that. But I think the really big thing that people were circling on their calendar is, what is the series with the Padres going to be like? Were we going to see benches clearing again? We did not. But in the last 6 games, I mean, we did really well overall. We got the sweep at the beginning, which everyone was super excited about, and kind of put us back on top of the NL West. But there was a lot of concern in this last Padres series. So just wanted to get your takes, because we didn't win the series, but luckily we took yesterday's game, got ourselves on the map a little bit with offense. But there's still concerns to be talked about with how we performed overall. So I guess just my question to you guys is, what do you think that we did well during the Padres, the last 6 games? What did we do well during the series, and what did the boys kind of have to work on?
I think what they did well was situational hitting. I feel like we came up with some very big hits here, at least at home. We're very controlled in our emotions. We didn't let our emotions kind of get the best of us. I felt like the guys kind of came out here and competed. What makes it more disappointed is that these last 2 games, well, not last 2, the first 2 games here in San Diego, they were winnable games. And like the offense completely like no-showed. If like the offense kind of provides any kind of spark, we might actually sweep them back to back. I kind of had that feeling, but you're not going to win many games when you only have 1 hit going into the 8th inning. So, yeah, that's kind of the biggest issue there, was like the offense kind of just disappeared for 2 games here in Petco.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of goes back to what we were talking about after the trade deadline, where we were like, a lot of people, or a lot of the times in the past trade deadlines, the one issue the Dodgers always had was their starting rotation. I grew up in the era of, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke taking the ball every 5th day. And I look back at those days, I mean, like, I can't believe how lucky I was to see, have 2 guys that were guaranteed to go at least 6, 7, 8+ innings every single start. Right now, the Dodgers rotation is actually probably their biggest strength. It's been one of the best rotations in baseball this month. They may not be getting, the innings pitched mark that we've seen in years past, but no starters are really going deep into games in baseball anymore. That's just the times that it is. But they still are 5th. They rank 5th in innings pitched this month. ERA, they're top 5 as well. FIP, top 5. And then they're also getting the job with the strikeouts. And Blake Snell's a huge reason towards that. It seems like we're getting the real Blake Snell experience, getting, double-digit strikeout games. He's going deep, 7 innings, only allowed a few runs. You would expect him to win that start in San Diego. And even his start at home, Will Smith helped him out with the runners on the bases and throwing out all those runners. But I think if you looked at those 6 games as a whole, if that's the rotation the Dodgers are throwing out there in a postseason series, and then you add Ohtani in there not pitching at Coors Field, I'm very confident in them getting the job done. But my biggest concern right now is just how inconsistent the offense has been. Whether it really seems like it's either boom or bust. And even yesterday's game where it looked like it was going to be bust. Teoscar Hernandez gets robbed of the grand slam. They only get one run out of that entire situation in the first inning. I'm thinking that, they may get swept. They may drop this if the offense doesn't show up. Luckily, Estrada goes in. The Dodgers have his number. They score a boatload of runs in that inning, and they ended up walking away with a blowout 8-2 win. One number that's concerning is we talked about it before. The Dodgers, record in one-run games isn't pretty. Dave Roberts got asked about that as well in Petco, and he said it's something that does frustrate him and the rest of the coaching staff as well. So that's where, like Anthony said, situational hitting, getting the job done, tight in games. Those first two games against the Padres were very winnable in San Diego, but the offense just couldn't get it. Especially that game against Yu Darvish, you only get one hit for the entire day, and it's an Alex Friedland home run. Congrats to him, but they couldn't do anything against Darvish. We'll see what they do against this Reds team because we'll get into it when we preview this series. But the Reds have a really good starting rotation, and they actually have the best starting rotation in the month of August. Them and the Cubs are top 1 and 2 in ERA. So the Dodgers, they're going to have their work cut out for them tonight. It's not the same Reds team we've seen in the past couple, 4 or 5 years. This is a Reds team that's trying to make a playoff push.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think they're the only team that hasn't been swept, am I right? So they're of all the teams in Major League Baseball. So it would be amazing if we could be the team to do that and sweep the Reds, but it's gonna be challenging. But the one game I thought we would really take was kind of surprising, but it was the Cortez game. So Nestor Cortez, I was really looking forward to seeing that game. And I think, of course, as in Dodgers fashion this season, we make some of the pitchers with the highest ERAs look like, again, Cy Young candidates. Anthony, what did you think of that game? Because we really thought we were gonna blow that one out. So
well, I thought Freddie got him again. Even Nestor Cortez thought the same thing too when he turned around and gave that reaction. But yeah, it was just frustrating because it felt like everything that you build up the previous series here at home, and you kind of just like went away from it. And like, I don't know if it's like inconsistencies with the lineup. Like sometimes Alex Call he had his best series as a Dodger in Colorado, and then he was eating bench here against the Padres. So I don't know whether it was just like lineup matchups, stuff like that. I kind of gave Dalton Rushing a hard time because he had a ground ball there against Mason Miller that kind of like killed the rally there. You have Ohtani kind of looming, but then again he comes back and like hits that monster home run yesterday. So it's kind of like a learning process with a lot of these rookies. It's frustrating, but like you see it kind of paying off. Like Alex Freeland's defense is kind of like something that I'm like in awe. Like I love seeing him play defense. Like the glove is there. Now you're just trying to get the bat to kind of translate to the major league level, and I think it will, which is kind of more reps and more at bats. Maybe that's something we look forward to as we go on to next season. But yeah, I felt like the Nestor Cortez game was very, very winnable. Yu Darvish, like I know he's had a rough year, but like I always kind of like I would always throw it out like kind of like how Kershaw, like the name value is there. Like he's gonna go out there and he's gonna shove regardless, whether it's like the Dodgers or any other team. I just always in the back of my head is like there might be a chance here that he just completely decides to like shove, and he ended up shoving. So yeah, that middle game was the most frustrating part.
It was frustrating because I really did think like, oh, this is our game to take. And overall, I think if you back up and look at the whole season, we won, what was it, 9 games overall against the Padres and lost 4. And if you were to kind of say at the beginning of the season, hey, we're taking 9 games, this is a great thing. But those 4 games really frustrated people because, yeah, they seem to be so winnable. But that's a good sign because we don't know, but we may run into the Padres down the line. We'll see. Right now, it's looking like if it stopped today, we'd be a wild card team, which scares me. But if we were a wild card team, do you guys feel that we are confident? Like, do you have any confidence? What's your level of confidence with us getting through a 3-game series?
I mean, I think the Dodgers 100% need to push themselves to get the number 2 seed in the National League. Number 1 seed's pretty much gone, I would say. I think the Brewers, even though they did lose the series to the San Francisco Giants of all teams, they have 81 wins already. We haven't even hit September yet. They're on pace to win 97, 98, 99, or somewhere around that range on Fangraphs. I don't think the Dodgers are going to be a 96 plus win team unless they have a crazy September, which from what they've showed me in July and in August as well, they're being very inconsistent, whether it's in the bullpen. Primarily the offense right now is the biggest issue, but you get in a 3-game series, anything can happen. We see anything happen with short 3-game series in the regular season. It would be my one thing for the team to avoid. One, I think they just need a break in any fashion of it. They need to have that, that crucial 4 to 5 day a week, off period, just to reset their lineup, reset their rotation, give the bullpen some, a break, give Dave Roberts a mental breather. If they go in straight from regular season to postseason, even if they win the division and they don't finish above the Phillies, they're going to have to play that wild card round. Don't want to play it. We've seen, I think, every series except for one since the wild card, the new 3-game series, only one home team has won it. and every other time it's been the road team that just goes in, they're hot and they win that series. So if you're the Dodgers, you don't want to play it. I wouldn't be not confident depending on who they play, which right now they would play the Mets, and the Mets are kind of in free fall right now, but you never know. Juan Soto could get hot. Francisco Lindor could have their number. Anything can happen in a 3-game series. So like I said, try to get that first round bye.
Anthony, do you think that we'll take that, or do you think that we could really get that second seed? Because that's the one I want.
Yeah, there's one big series left for the Dodgers. September 15th through the 17th, they play Philadelphia. That's going to be like the big marquee matchup there. It's going to be like you can't really simulate playoff games, but that's going to be very close to a playoff game atmosphere. I do not want anything to do with a 3-game wild card. It's just so much. Like, I was crashing out last year in the NLDS, and that was 5 games. I can't imagine a 3-game set. Even though I did mention, like, if it did end up happening, I would ideally ride the hot hands in our rotation, which would be Ohtani, Snell, and kind of Yamamoto. And those would be my 3 guys, and like worry about the NLDS after. Like, you got to win the wild card in order to even think about that. That's kind of like the mindset you should have. But ideally, I wouldn't want them to have like anything to do with the wild card. I would prefer them to play their first postseason game 1 of the NLDS here at home at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel you. In that scenario, though,
no, you go. You can go.
No, I'm just wondering, because it made me think about, in that scenario, what if we had to do the wild card round? What would then be the pitching matchup for the following if we did get through that wild card round? Because I'm looking at some Kershaw, like kind of really throwing some heat lately, and I'm liking it. So I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on if we do? Can we even make it through? And if we do, then what does it look like beyond that?
And that's the thing that I would even ask a lot of people, where I know it's in the back of everyone's head. You see Clayton Kershaw. Does he start a playoff game? I know you see the postseason stats in years prior, and there's been some highs, there's been some lows. I'm kind of on the fence right now, where if you're really doing a do or die game between Kershaw and Yamamoto, it's kind of like 50-50 for me right now. And I know that's crazy to say, but I just feel like Kershaw has been very clutch in August. That game 1 against the San Diego Padres last week kind of showed it, where if you really need to get 5-6 gritty innings from Kershaw in a must-win performance, I feel like he is your guy. But if they have to play that 3-game wildcard series, you only get like a day or 2 off. So he would most definitely have to start a postseason game in that NLDS. You would only, you can't reset your rotation that much. You're going straight from the regular season, day off, wild card round. If you play all 3 games and use 3 starters, you only get another day off, and then you have to go travel to whatever city you're going to. So that's why I think it's a very important thing to the Dodgers. And Anthony already mentioned it. That 3-game series against the Phillies is probably going to decide, for the most part, of the bracket for the National League. And when I look at Fangraphs, the Dodgers are on pace to go get 92 wins. The Phillies are on pace to get 94. So the Dodgers can take care of business, take 2 out of 3, or even sweep the Phillies. That'll go a long way to, you also have to think the tiebreaker rules that transcends a lot of this stuff right now. The Dodgers have the tiebreaker of the Padres, but the Phillies, if they win, I believe just one of those games, they win the tiebreaker over the Dodgers. So, or I think actually whoever wins that series wins the tiebreaker. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's why it's imperative every game in the regular season matters, especially these next 31 games. There is no tomorrow, as David Vassay would like to say.
Ooh, yeah, I want to know kind of like where we're gonna end up at the end, but right now it's just a game at a time. I think Dave Roberts said we're turning the page on the Padres. We're just gonna look at what's in front of us, and at the end of the day, I just hope that we, do take our division, because the Padres are hungry, but I'm not as afraid of them as I was 6 games ago when I saw their bullpen. Yes, they have a great bullpen. They have a great, lineup, but I really feel like when we go into that postseason, click on Kiké mode, if you will, I think we really will. I think we'll come out on top. And like you said, we have the tiebreaker, so we really don't have to end tied with them. Like we just have to end, one game better. We're fine, or we end with them. As long as we are tied, we are 1 game better, and we're all set. But it makes me also wonder: would we see any of the current rookies in the current rookie? The one I'm thinking about is Freeland. I've been really impressed with him. At first, when he came up, I was like, he was better in OKC, but maybe he just had to adjust. But was there any world where he makes the postseason roster, or do you think that he's like easier or sent down after we get some of our pieces back?
I really hope he stays on this roster going forward. Again, the looming issue in the field of Michael Conforto, like if it's between the two of them, I'd rather give Alex Freeland those reps just to see him like how he does down here in the stretch run. Postseason roster wise, I can see him maybe making the end of the bench, but if you guys got all these guys coming back healthy, I wouldn't risk putting him on the postseason roster. I think the only guy that's a rookie that might make it is going to be Dalton Rushing, and that's because he's our backup catcher at the point. And I'm not counting like guys in the bullpen like Kasperius and Dreyer. Those are locks, but yeah. Other than I don't think Alex Freeland is going to get big postseason at bats this season. It's going to be more of like a learning experience for him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at once guys start coming back and getting healthy, and we're already starting to see it with Kiké Hernández being activated today. Obviously, the first guy to go was Buddy Kennedy, which he was out of options, didn't really have a spot on this team. Kiké can play third, left field, center field, right field, first base, pitcher. He does it all. He's a jack of all trades, so it's going to be a massive boost to have him back on the team. But I'm in lockstep with Anthony. I love having the young guys come up from the minor leagues and bring a little bit of bring the youth, bring the defense, bring the speed, the athleticism. I think that's something that this Dodgers roster particularly has lacked this season. Is they are the second oldest roster in Major League Baseball. So to get any type of youth, whether it's Dalton Rushing behind the plate, getting 1 to 2 starts a week to get Will Smith off his feet, Alex Freeland, who can play pretty much Gold Glove defense in the middle infield and an above average third base as well. He can is a plug and play guy that can go anywhere. Hey guys, don't forget about Hyeseong Kim. He's a natural. He could be a Gold Glove second baseman if he comes back and can play a full year at second base. But he also is a guy that Dave Roberts said is going to see time in the outfield and left field in particular, and that's where it all comes to. I know we want to get rid of Michael Conforto right now. I just think his job is safe until September, until when Muncy and Edman come back. Once those two guys are back, Conforto is probably going to be that guy that gets DFA. That's when the Dodgers will probably bite the bullet, because there is no way that Conforto can make the postseason roster or even be an option off the bench. He's not a late inning defensive replacement. He's not somebody I want pitch hitting in a key situation late in the game like we had in 2021 when Steven Souza Jr. and all these random names are getting playoff at bat. That's what the Dodgers want to avoid, and we're going to start seeing that in the next couple of weeks. Freeland, I want to see stay on the roster, but I really think it's going to be a positional battle between Alex Call, Freeland, and Hyeseong Kim, which Kim, they've had their vendetta against him for whatever reason this year. They don't really like his swing. He kind of, hit back against the coaching staff and the front office by batting over 300 in his short time. And now he gets injured. He looks good in his minor league rehab assignment so far. I believe he's got like 4 or 5 hits in like 16 or so at bats. Now it's up to him to, if they activate him and he performs, I assume he'll probably get the spot over Freeland, but it really just depends on how these guys play down the stretch, which I think is a good thing because competition breeds, the best out of these players, and the Dodgers need the best out of everybody on the roster right now, not only to win the division, but to, having a good run getting into October to bring some confidence back in this team, which I think we've kind of severely lacked in the summer so far.
So, I mean, I think, and I don't think I'm the only one, but every day I wake up and it's like, is this the day that we don't have to see Conforto anymore? And while I fully understand logically why they do hold on to him for different reasons, and we're still waiting for some pieces to come back. I mean, the fact that he made it through this whole season with the numbers that he has had, it's just disappointing because it doesn't feel like he kind of lived up to what the expectations are for, fans and the Dodgers organization. So will wish him well one day, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing someone else in left when that all comes together. But I think the good news for fans is even though we have to kind of see, this roster just for a little while longer, we have some really amazing pieces coming back. I mean, I'm looking forward to Muncy because look at what we produced when Muncy has been in the lineup. And so we're looking at a late September, possibly like mid to late September return of Muncy. Tommy Edman, we'll see how that goes. But I mean, he's probably going to come back, like you say, late September. But what would then happen to Wright? Because at this point, it looks to me like Mookie's not going to Wright, no matter how many people shout from the rooftops that that's what they want. Mookie is staying at short. He's a really good shortstop. So what does then the outfield look like in the postseason or as we get ready to transition into postseason?
Yeah, ideally Mookie stays at shortstop. He had some really awesome plays in this series. Kind of solidified his spot there. Ideally, you slide Teoscar over. This is just me doing it. Teoscar over to left. I love if Tommy Edman's ankle is 100% healed. He's my center fielder, and then I have Andy Paz out at right field. That's the lineup I go with out in the outfield.
Yeah, I think Anthony is correct in everything he just said there. That's exactly what I would do, and it's really up to Edman. If Edman's ankle is healed and he is good enough to go out in center field, it helps the Dodgers roster out tremendously. If not, I don't think it's the worst case scenario because I would just plug Kiké Hernández in center, put Andy Paz in right, and Teoscar Hernandez in pretty much every scenario in my head is going to left field just because I think the Dodgers would make that decision now in the regular season if they had these players available at their disposal right now, but they don't. They will in October. They will in late September. And even Max Muncy, Dave Roberts gave really encouraging updates today. Most of us were eyeing like a mid-September return. He's saying that he could actually return on the Dodgers' next road trip. So if that's the case, that's another guy you're bringing back. Hyeseong Kim's coming back later this week, possibly, as long as they don't keep him in the minor leagues for whatever reason to work on any type of things they want him to work on. You're getting multiple players back, and roster decisions are going to loom. Even with the rosters expanding in September, you go from 26 to 28. It's going to be interesting to see what the Dodgers do. Do they keep Freeland up? Do they keep these other guys up? My outfield defense is the big thing. I think Call definitely is going to be a very good piece to have off the bench as a late inning defensive replacement to put in left field for Hernandez. Or if you need somebody to get, an at-bat against a left-handed pitcher, he's your guy too. And honestly, he's just not getting enough playing time, and I feel bad for him because since putting on the Dodgers uniform in his limited sample size, he's got a 141 WRC plus, had a really good series in Colorado, like Anthony said, and his reward for that was El Bencho. It must be a frustrating thing to be a player or a role player for the Dodgers, but I think as long as Call continues to produce, he's going to be able to have a guaranteed spot on the postseason roster, which the Dodgers need athletic types on the team, and he's a guy that fits that bill. I think we all know Conforto's days are numbered, especially with these players coming back. We're just waiting. We're just waiting. He's going to end up with like almost 400 at bats this year with the Dodgers, which is kind of crazy for the season that he's had. And I couldn't even predict it would have been this bad. So I feel bad for the guy, but it's time to break the ice.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news is it's not that much longer, but then I also think as much as I want to get to the end, I miss baseball so much in the off season. I just count the days till it starts again. So I really want to enjoy this next month, and I want to feel like we will have a chance at making, just a nice little push to the end, win the division, because of all the teams I hate losing to the most, it is the Padres. But let us know what you think. We have the chat open. If you have any super chats or you have any questions or anything that you would like to comment on in the show, we're more than happy to interact with you. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But I kind of wanted to circle back to Shohei a little bit because, I mean, obviously we've seen some more starts. We've seen some more, at-bats from him. And I think he's now at 45 home runs. Still has Shohei numbers, even though he doesn't, always produce, every single game the way we want to. But he always comes through with those amazing homers and amazing plays when he needs to. And I think he's still the runaway MVP according to the, all the betting odds. So I don't think that's in question. But he did have his shakiest start the last time we saw him over in Colorado. And I know he's, still ramping up. They're trying to get him into 5 innings. But did you guys, when you were watching Shohei last round, I mean, I think he gave up, and I want to say, was it 4 or 5 earned runs, or was it 4? I have to look back at the numbers. But do you think that that was more of just kind of the natural ramp up process where you're just going to have a couple of bad starts here and there? Do you think any of that was attributed to Coors Field?
I think it's a little bit of both. Coors Field, we've seen like the best pitchers go there and completely get shelled. It's just like something that even when I was going into the series, I was kind of like, okay, like if we take 3 against Colorado, like I'm leaving 1 game out there for like Coors Field shenanigans, basically, because there's so many games that I've seen where like the Dodgers have been up big and like out of nowhere, like a Coors Field inning kind of happens. And like with Shohei's start, I just felt like he wasn't being beat up at all. Like the Rockies were kind of just like placing hits here and there, and like they were finding holes, stuff like that. Kind of ran his pitch count up high, and he ended up taking that line drive right off his thigh, a little bit up above that area. So it kind of like that's kind of was the signal for me, like, okay, like let's take him out now, because like it's clearly he doesn't have it. Why risk further injury? Like let's kind of just like punt this game, like and just go from there. But yeah, he gave up 9 hits, 5 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts. So that kind of like tells you Colorado's game plan probably was kind of just to attack him early, which they probably ended up doing. Pretty effective at it too as well. So I kind of just contributed to Coors Field. I think this next start he'll be better, more sharper, kind of just like a learning experience from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it did have to do with Coors Field. I believe it was his first start there ever in his career. Obviously, he's not going to face them much being in the American League for 6 seasons. But I also just think he was due for a clunker. And the Rockies at the time, they called up some young guys. They're actually have put together a couple wins over this past month. So they're clearly playing for a couple things. They're playing for each other. They're playing for individual numbers to prove themselves to be on next year's roster. And they're also proving themselves to say, hey, look, we can just ruin the Dodgers' week, their season, their whatever losses that they can take against us is definitely going to annoy their fans. It's going to annoy the players. It's going to annoy the front office, all that. Because that trickled effect into the division standings. You go into San Diego down a game, and then you end up, coming out of there tied in the division again, where the Dodgers, we were hoping they would take at least 3 out of 4. You looked at all the starting rotation options that the Rockets were throwing out there, ERA over 7, ERA over 6, and the Dodgers, their offense really struggled for 2 or 3 of those games. But Ohtani in particular, especially that last inning of work, it seemed like they just were attacking him early, like Anthony said. The stuff really wasn't getting the whiffs that we've seen all season. And, once he got the comeback line drive that hit him in the thigh and they opted to keep him in the game, I kind of was like, come on, what are we doing here? Like, come on. This is the game in August. The game's pretty much out of reach with the way the offense is playing right now. I believe it was like 5-0 at that point. And Ohtani does pitch to the rest of the game. I believe took one more at bat, and then they ended up removing him. Took a day off the next day, which was already planned. But, I mean, getting hit by any type of, object, but say it's 95 plus miles per hour, it's going to hurt. Even thankfully it was at the meat of the thigh, which is probably the best place where you want to get hit, not in the ribs, not in the hand, not in the finger, anything like that. Because that's the downside of having Ohtani as a pitcher. He's so valuable as a hitter, where if he gets injured on the mound, and that's been the debate across Major League Baseball, like, do the Dodgers want to continue this route, whether it's, an elbow injury or something like a freak incident, like a comeback line drive. You take Ohtani out of the Dodgers lineup, and they're pretty much screwed for the rest of the season, in my opinion. So that is the risk, but thankfully he came out of it on top. I think he's going to be fine this series for his next start. So I don't think there's anything to worry about with Ohtani at all.
Yeah, I think because I was listening to or kind of hearing some of the different chatter around the league about would it even be a possibility for Ohtani to pitch in relief in postseason? But I don't think it's as cut and dry as just asking that question and that happening, because I guess people have visions of, oh, Ohtani will come out of the pen, ninth inning, shut it down, and we win. But I don't think that could happen. Cody, could you speak to that? Because I don't know if it's in the MLB rules exactly listed that way.
Yeah, so if you're a starting pitcher, and you're a two-way player, you can stay in the game even after you're removed. If you're a relief pitcher and you come in as a two-way player, as soon as you're removed as a relief pitcher, you lose the DH and you lose Ohtani for the rest of the game. So the really only time I don't think Ohtani coming out of the bullpen is next to zero. I think it is a decent chance we see it this October, especially if it's like a series clinching game in the division series, championship series, or the World Series. I think if the opportunity arises and Ohtani is their best option, clearly the ninth inning has been one of the biggest issues for the Dodgers this season, even though Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates did look good in San Diego this weekend. I think if the Dodgers want to, close out a game and Ohtani's available to go 6, 9, or guaranteed 3 outs, I think the Dodgers will do it if it's the last 2 or 3 innings and his turn in the lineup doesn't really come around the next time when they go to bat. So I would say the Dodgers definitely will have it in the back of their pocket. I mean, hell, we saw Team Samurai Japan do it in the WBC. I'm sure the Dodgers would love to have the opportunity to break the internet with Ohtani closing out a series as well, whether it be against a team like the Padres or someone in the World Series like the Yankees or the Red Sox, something along those lines that definitely get the views. But I don't think we're going to see it more often than a lot of fans are clamoring for it. But it is going to be something I think they will keep in the back of their head.
Yeah. I think if he was healthy last year, the possibility was there. Bueller threw those last 3 inch out. So if he was healthy, that could have been an option. But then again, he got hurt in the World Series sliding popped the shoulder out. So why even risk it at that point? So I think there's a possibility down the line. I know everyone kind of remembers the World Baseball Classic, kind of going up there and just like giving it to Mike Trout. But I don't know. It would have to be like we're up like 3 runs and like this is Game 7 of the World Series and like we need 3 outs. We basically depleted the whole bullpen. Like there's guys like their arms are on fire basically.
I would love to see it, but I guess all the stars have to line up properly to kind of get that exact scenario. But you never know. It seems to always have, like, for the last 2 times we won the World Series, it was a starter that kind of came out and did that. So that's kind of fun to imagine, but we'll see kind of where it goes. We got to make it to the World Series first. We got to make it to those rounds. I think it's going to happen. I feel positive. I think yesterday, since it's just the most recent game that we've had, has been a win. But prior to that, I was feeling, and I think you saw it in my text, Anthony, is like, when you see them not getting any hits, it's like, all right, well, are we even going to make the postseason? So, I mean, like all fans, we get emotional while we're watching the game, but after I sit and I think about it for a while, I feel like, we're in the game still. We're going to be fine. But what does concern me a little bit is Will Smith, because Will Smith has been kind of one of our best hitters all season, but in the month of August, he's kind of dipped a little bit, not only in his batting average, just his overall production. And it reminded me of last season when he was, second half, he kind of possibly just due to fatigue, different factors. But what do you make of Smith? Are we going to see a little bit of a resurgence, at least at the very end, or do you think that he's kind of on a regression line right now?
Yeah, I think if you're the Dodgers, you're hoping that it's just a midseason slump. He's been so good all season, top 2 in the league in batting average. Obviously, his slump right now has made him dip, where I think he's 3rd in the rankings at like 297, which I don't think the batting title's at the forefront of his mind. I think just finishing the season strong and healthy is going to be something that he and the Dodgers want. But, he is a big part of the Dodgers lineup, especially when Max Muncy's out, especially when you have inconsistencies from Mookie Betts for the most part of the season, even though he's looked better as of late. I think a lot of the burden on the offense fell on Will Smith and Shohei Ohtani for most of the summer. And, being a catcher and starting every day, it is a thing that grinds on you. So when you see someone like what Cal Rowley's doing in the American League, hitting home runs left and right, starting almost every game behind the dish. I mean, for someone, even myself, I caught my entire life. That stuff, my knees still are feeling the effects of that. So it's a grind. Having a guy like Dalton Rushing, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, having someone that could start two times a week, get Will Smith off his feet is definitely going to be the move. And I know a lot of fans yesterday were saying when Dalton Rushing came up with runners on base, they said, hey, why aren't we pitch hitting Will Smith here? Well, Dave Roberts wanted to give him a day off to not swing a bat, to not field or catch behind the plate. And thankfully, Dalton Rushing had the biggest home run of his career yesterday to, spark the Dodgers offense. I think Smith will snap out of it. I'm not saying that he needs to go crazy and continue the batting title race, but I think something more consistent. Right now this month, 194 batting average, only 2 home runs. Things haven't looked the best for him, but defensively he's looked great, which is really what I really am looking for from my catcher. And if any type of offensive production is definitely a must. We also have to think last season in the postseason, I think Smith was batting below 5th or 6th in the Dodgers lineup. He was kind of he struggled last postseason as well. So the Dodgers are going to get the offensive production from their other guys. Will Smith, if he can get back to what he's been doing all year, will take it. We'll just see how it goes. September's almost here. We're going to have rosters expand. I'm sure Dalton Rushing will get a few more starts here and there, but it's really going to be up to Will Smith to help this Dodgers team.
Yeah, I trust his arm, though. I mean, I think it was one of those recent games where he threw out 3 runners in the first 2 innings. And, he has that magic eye that just, you don't run on him. And I think they were trying to just kind of test that. So I trust him, but obviously he needs rest if we want him to go, those 11 games in postseason and win them all. We're definitely going to need him to be somewhat fresh and somewhat rested. So Dave Roberts is going to carefully put him out there in the next month and make sure that he's ready for that. But one thing that also kind of got my attention was Enriquez, right? I think he threw a 103.3 fastball since we last spoke in one of the games, and people were joking well, we've got the Venezuelan Mason Miller on our team, so we have a magic weapon there that we didn't have to give up major farm pieces for. But Anthony, I'll talk to you because you are our bullpen expert on our dog meter. Where does he fall there? Where are our dogs in line according to where you see them since we last spoke about the meter?
See, I feel like a lot of people want to throw him into high leverage, but I feel like I need to see more in low leverage situations because his control is kind of all over the place sometimes. I hate to bash on him, but he gave up that run or that hit that brought in 2 runs. I forget against who. And at that point, I don't even blame him. Dave Roberts was, it's against the Angels. There you go. It came to my mind. Dave Roberts had no options, and he kind of well, let's see what you do. And it just backfired on him. So ideally, I would like to see him kind of build more confidence in low leverage situations. And then maybe in a big game, okay, let's see what he has here kind of deal. So I don't shaking my boots when I see him come out of the bullpen. I kind of get excited because I know he's going to come out and throw gas basically. So I kind of like relievers like that. In terms of bullpen wise, I'm kind of glad to see Tanner Scott. Kirby Yates had a solid outing yesterday. Tanner Scott actually was effective. He looked really solid. So let's see if they can build on that heading into the stretch run here. So, and other than that, I think Vesia, he had a little bit of a rough week there, week and a half maybe, but I feel like he's kind of back to it. And it turns with bullpen guys, it's normal for these guys to kind of be have a rough week or 2 here. If it's only a concern if that week or 2 kind of snowballs into 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now you got a month and a half, you've been rough. So other than that, I still have all of the confidence in the world when Alex Vesia comes into the game. So stuff like that is fine. But yeah, let's see where these guys are at heading into September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen itself it's one of those things where as soon as the starting rotation got healthy, I got more confidence in the bullpen just because I figured if these guys can go 6 innings pitched. There was a streak a couple games in a row where it was the Dodgers had back-to-back starts of 6+ innings, which hadn't happened all season, which shows you just how bad the injuries were in the pitching staff and the starting rotation, where now these guys are all healthy. They're going deep into the games. We mentioned Snell going 7, Kershaw went 6. Glass now had the worst start of the past 10 days besides Ohtani, where he only went 5 1/3 innings or 4 1/3 innings, and the Dodgers ended up still winning that Sunday game. So clearly the starting rotation is a strength right now. The bullpen looked really good over the last 7 or 10 days. especially against San Diego. If Tanner Scott can turn into the guy that they threw $70+ million at for a reason and can lock in not only just the ninth inning, but high leverage spots, instantly transforms the entire Dodgers bullpen. And he looked really good in his minor league outings. I was watching some of the videos from our friend Doom Sal, who was posting them on Twitter, and then just even writing about it. The whiff rate was there. The pitches looked great. He can really help bolster this Dodgers bullpen now that they're pretty much almost fully healthy at the most they've been healthy probably all season since spring training.
That's like, I just want to put a pause button on their health meter right now, because how long have we been begging for, just a fully healthy pitching staff? And that reminds me of just kind of like last year, the magic story was our bullpen dogs. They're the ones who carried us all the way, and we owe a lot of that title to them. But do you think that this year the story could be the starting pitching? They're the ones that carry us, and maybe our bullpen plays more of like a supporting role, because it's looking to me like we have an amazing rotation. Are they the ones that are going to take us to the title if we get that far this year?
Yeah, and it really just depends on what the Dodgers want to do, because especially if they get to the division series or the championship series, like I said, I don't know what they're going to do with Kershaw. I don't like Kershaw coming out of the bullpen. So if you're going to plan on starting him, I would rather him start and say like Tyler Glasnow piggyback off him or something, bring him out of the bullpen, because one or two of these starters is going to go to the bullpen. I think the one guaranteed one is going to be Emmett Sheehan, just because he's been used to that role in the previous seasons of his career. And it just seems like something that, would probably be tailored for him. He hasn't really been the best this season since being off the IL, ERA over 4, but he has shown some stuff. And then after that, it's take your pick of Glasnow or Kershaw going to the bullpen. And like I said, you can make an argument for either or. But I do believe that the Dodgers are going to lean heavily on their starting rotation. I mean, you might as well. Ohtani's probably saving his best stuff for October, where even Dave Roberts has kind of alluded to that, which is where I think him being fully unleashed to go like 6 solid innings would be definitely something the Dodgers would take. Blake Snell, I think right now Blake Snell is the best pitcher on the team, and he's kind of shown why he got that big 5-year contract. He is probably the second best left-handed pitcher in baseball, right behind Tarek Skubal of the Tigers. When he's on, he not only has he dropped his walk rate, which was the biggest issue for the Dodgers that I clamored for, why I would have signed maybe somebody else like Max Fried, was I just didn't want to go with the Blake Snell experience, which was just, all right, I'm going to walk a bunch of hitters, but I'm going to strike out a bunch of hitters. He hasn't really done that at all. His walk rate's at like 2.8% this year, which is his career low, and his strikeout percentage rate has gone up as well. And I know it's only been a limited sample size, only made like 7 starts with the Dodgers so far, but looking really, really sharp. And then you pair that with Ohtani, you got Glasnow, you got, Kershaw, and then you got Yamamoto, who's been the workhorse all year. The starting rotation is going to be the storyline for the Dodgers, I feel like, this year. But the bullpen's got some dogs, too. When they're not going to be pitching as many innings as they are in the regular season anymore, I think they're going to be fresh enough for October to be counted on. And I think that's a good recipe. Like I said, the whole thing about this episode is that the Dodgers offense just needs to wake up, and I think a good couple week stretch in September can do that for them.
Yeah, I feel like September is going to be not so much like a roller coaster, but we're going to all have our emotions, because we're going to be watching that timeline tick down to how many wins are we going to have total? Are we taking the division crown? Is it going to come down to the last game? And all of those things put us through the ringer as Dodger fans. But ultimately, I do think that, the crown is going to be ours. I just feel it. I really know that the Dodgers have the magic formula to win. And my reason for feeling that way is, even though we're seeing an entire season of 162 games, Dave Roberts said it at the beginning of spring training, every team's going to play us like we are, like it's game 7 of a playoff game. They're coming at us hard. And we have seen that every single team plays us like it's the be all end all of their season. It is their World Series, as Mookie said. And the Dodgers don't see it that way. They look at it as like the grand total of, we're not going to play every team like the way they're playing us. We're going to play, I think they go into it like, we're going to play smart. They know they have the formula to win. Will they win every game? Absolutely not. But I don't think that it's in the Dodgers' best interest to play that crazy the way they're being played and then just gas themselves for the end. They know how to measure themselves, how to play well and win the division and then go into playoffs. So I really don't think that the Dodgers are not are being dumb this year with how they're playing. They know how to win the division, and I just think that they will do it in the end. They'll come through. So that's my take on why I wanted to ask you guys this. Teo got a lot of heat from a game recently where he dropped the ball in front of him, and people were just like, Teo, his hustle, what's up with him? And I want to know, do you think he got too much slack for that? Is he nursing an injury, or is it just that, things like this happen to all players? They just have a bloop here and there, and things, they happen. But at the end of the day, Teo is fine. What do you guys think about him?
See, I would have gave him the benefit of the doubt if it didn't come out later that the catch probability was like in the high 90s.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like if it's like a blooper, like he went out there and he dove and like he missed it by like an inch or two, then I'm like, all right, like yeah, it happens. But like the catch probability was there, and it's not even just that play; it's like the whole season. There's been different plays and different games where like you kind of see him kind of jogging out there, like not trying hard. I still don't know if it's like injury related. If it was injury related, I think we would have known. I know he had that hamstring early on in the year. Maybe he doesn't want to test it out because he has fear that like if I go too fast, it's just gonna pop, gonna lose the rest of the season. So, but no, he just has to be better out in defense. And like, there's nothing wrong with having accountability. That's basically what it is at the end of the day. You're holding players accountable. We hold Mookie accountable. We hold Shohei accountable. Like no one's above accountability at this point. But yeah, it was kind of more frustrating. And I always remember the game I went to in San Francisco too. There was like a shot right in the right center field, and like he kind of like just lackadaisical just went out there and like missed it completely. Ended up winning the game, but like it was frustrating at that point. But like there's multiple plays that I can go back to like throughout the whole season where like yeah, he did that. But I feel like it all changes to like when we slide him over to left field.
Yeah, I feel like last season the Dodgers did a good job of hiding him in left field or wherever they chose to position him. Didn't get many opportunities in left field last year to kind of make some dazzling plays. He did his job, caught the routine fly balls, but it's kind of crazy because right field's a very premium. It's the premium outfield position, and Teoscar is definitely getting exposed there this year. Both of the corner outfielders are getting exposed defensively this season. Conforto, I know everyone wants to just throw everything you want at Michael Conforto, but both of them have been pretty bad on the defensive metrics. It's kind of crazy when I was looking at Baseball Savant. Teoscar's defensive numbers are actually better this year than they were last year. But like I said, I think the Dodgers just the baseball probabilities and the way baseball is just made him look a little bit better with our eyes last year because he didn't have as many opportunities to screw up, essentially. Now it's kind of at the forefront. He's done it numerous times, like Anthony said, something that now it's in the back of our heads where we see a fly ball and let's see, is he going to catch it? He did or he didn't, and then we're still going to judge however he did or didn't do that particular play. I think in Colorado the other day, like Anthony said, it was like a 98% catch probability. Obviously, Coors Field's a very big outfield. I mean, even when you're looking at it on the TV, it's humongous. They were playing no doubles. He was essentially at the wall, so it was kind of just like a bloop fly ball that it would take a really good sprint speeding outfielder to get to. He ended up not getting to it. Freeland couldn't get to it either. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for playing no doubles, not being a particularly speedy runner anyway. But at the end of the day, could it possibly be the hamstring? Could it still be the groin? Could it be the toe injury that he suffered this year? I feel like Hernandez has been battling a lot of stuff, and these athletes, when they do those public media interviews, they're not going to give you the full details. It's something that we usually find out after the season or, through reports, later in the year when the players are more open to the media about all this stuff. But I think it's all going to be solved when Teoscar gets put in left. You get somebody else to put in right. Andy Pages is probably the no-brain decision there. I don't think Mookie Betts is moving off a shortstop, especially after that game he had in San Diego the other day. Went crazy on the infield at shortstop, but we'll see what happens. I know Teoscar cares. He did seem very frustrated with himself, and the very next morning, I love to see it. He was taking fly ball routines with the coaches, so that you love to see that.
Yeah, and I think there was a little too much made of that. I guess the story that ended up not being a story, that there was some closed door meeting that was going to push Mookie back to right and tailgate, and it turned out that they poured cold water over at that, and that was just simply not true. And I mean, give props to Mookie to make himself a shortstop that looks like the way he looks on a day-to-day basis and really be making these incredible plays. That just doesn't happen as fast as Mookie did it. So that is just something that I think we're going to be fine with him at short. We have memories of him doing amazing at right field, but yeah, short is going to be Mookie's. Okay, so just kind of want to turn our attention to like the next month and kind of looking ahead at what the Dodgers need to do to make sure that we have a certain amount of number of wins in order to win the National League West. And where will we end? Like, what is going to be like? Are we going to hit 95 wins, 96 wins, less, more? But we'll just start off with the first number. We have how many games left? 30, 31, right? 31. How many wins do we need to take the NL West from the Padres?
31. No, I kind of landed around 18, 19 wins. I feel like that's a very doable number. Now, I'm saying this cautiously. I don't want to get yelled at like at the end of September when they only get like 15 wins or something like that. But I think 18, 19 is kind of doable, especially with the schedule they have going forward. The toughest series is going to be Philadelphia. Hopefully they take 2, 3 there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you look at the schedule. Strength of schedule is on their side. They have the 4th easiest schedule in baseball. Like Anthony said, their hardest series. They have a series against the Phillies, and I believe they have a series against the Mariners. Both teams that are, in playoff contention, fighting for their playoff lives, their division lives, and their postseason seeding as well. So that's probably going to give the Dodgers some fits, but it also could help the Dodgers, especially that series against the Phillies in terms of the NL seeding. Fangraphs has them projected over the next 31 games going 18-13, which is probably on par with how they've played over the last month and a half. I mean, look in this month in August, they're 11-11. They're 21-25 since July 1st. They kind of just need to get more consistent and not play 500 ball for the rest of the year. Because if that's the case, they probably are going to lose that NL West if they just play 500, because the Padres have the easiest strength of schedule in baseball. They don't play the Dodgers anymore. They don't play many divisional opponents either. I think they have more matchups against like the White Sox than they do against anybody in the NL West that would probably give them trouble. So it's going to be up to the Dodgers to make it up their season for themselves. They're going to have to get at least 92, 93 wins to win the division. They're going to have to probably get 93 to 96 wins to get the number 2 seed in the National League. If they don't get the number 2 seed, I don't really care if they win the division or not. At that point, it really wouldn't matter, just because you have to play that 3-game wildcard series regardless. If it's on the road, who cares? If it's at home, it's whatever. Their main focus should be getting that number 2 seed, and it's really going to be up to them. If they have a clunker of the rest of August and a clunker in September where they're hovering around 500, I'm not going to like their chances of winning the divisions. But I think everything's going to start getting right. David Van Stage just tweeted out like 5 minutes ago that Max Muncy is more than likely going to be activated on the next road trip, which is going to be tremendous. Hyeseong Kim probably later this week. Tommy Edman in September. You're pretty much getting the entire core roster that you need to go on a run, and hopefully the Dodgers can take care of business. So I'll probably give them 31 games, 20 wins.
Okay, so we're at the 74 wins today. So with 20 wins, you're looking at a night ending with 94. So we're not the 100-win team that we've seen in the past, but you don't need 100 wins to win the World Series. So I think that is kind of where I'm going to land. I'm hoping to hit the 94, 95. That would be amazing. And with Muncy, I see it with the pieces that we're getting back. I think we can do. We just can't drop the ball, no pun intended. But I think we're gonna see a good month. At least I'm hopeful that we will. But that just kind of brings us to where we're going to go next. The Reds are about to play the Dodgers in just 15, 20 minutes time. So we want to let our viewers kind of get ready for that. So it looks like the probables are going to be Sheehan tonight against Hunter Green. Hunter Green is a pretty incredible pitcher. Kershaw plays tomorrow versus Nick Martinez, and Shohei on his bobblehead night is going to pitch Wednesday versus I don't think it's determined yet. So where do you guys see that going? Make your predictions.
I think today's game is going to be the hardest. Like you said, Hunter Green been having a really good year, really solid pitcher, and the way our offense coming off the past 2 games, I'm not counting yesterday's game. Kind of been struggling, only 2 hits throughout 8 innings, so I feel like tonight's game will be hard. But I still think I favor the Dodgers to win 2 of these games, 2 of the 3. So I'm going to pick them to win 2.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a harder series than a lot of people realize. The Reds gave them kind of fits in Cincinnati last month or at the end of July. Dodgers still took 2 out of 3 in some very tightly contested games. The Reds pitching staff has just been unworldly the past month and a half since the All-Star break, and luckily the Dodgers are only going to face one of their top arms. I think that third game they're going to activate Nick Lodolo, who's missed some time with, I believe, a shoulder injury or a blister, actually, so we'll see what he does. But Hunter Green's going to be the big matchup. Guys throw over 100 miles per hour like every single pitch, has a 2.63 ERA. Before he went on the injured list, he was like top 3 Cy Young favorite in the National League. Then he goes on the shelf, misses almost a month, 2 months. So clearly that's out. But the Reds, they're fighting for a wild card right now. Division race is pretty much out of reach for them. They're like 13 games back from the Brewers, but they're only a game and a half back of the New York Mets. So playing a team like the Dodgers, who play really well at home, the Reds, they have not been swept at all this season, Drea. I think you were right about that stat. And they're a team that's looking to get out of a funk as well. They've been like the Dodgers this past month. I believe they're 11-10 this month. So they're going to try to get on a hot streak to go in September and hopefully get their first full season wild card berth, I think, since 2013. So we'll see what happens this series. I do expect the Dodgers to at least win 2 of them. I expect. We'll see what the offense does. If the offense can be consistent, I could honestly see them sweeping the series. I want to start seeing the Dodgers start piling up a win streak more than 3. I'm going to settle with 2 wins though.
Okay, I love it. I remember, Cody, you said that when I think right before the first Padres series, you called it, you said sweep and they swept. And I was really inspired by that because I'm always afraid to say sweep, but I want to see the Dodgers take it down and sweep. Or some wood, I'm going to knock on it. I just don't let Ellie De La Cruz on base because he scares me when he's running the base paths. But I definitely want to see a sweep this week. It would just make me happy. But yeah, that's going to happen shortly. So everyone go ahead and get ready for the Dodger game. And obviously we'll be talking to you in the next week's time about that because I think they follow with the Diamondbacks as right after that. So we'll definitely get into all of that. But that is it for my notes, unless you guys have any final comments.
None here.
No?
Let's win a baseball game tonight.
Yeah, I'm with Dre. Let's sweep the Reds. I would definitely like that.
Awesome. Yes. So that's going to be just turning a new page. And so Dodgers will get it done tonight. So, but that is going to do it for this episode of the Bleed Los podcast. Definitely don't forget to check out DodgersBeat.com. We have some great articles, as we said before, by Cody. He keeps us informed every single day. And then also check out his Substack to make sure that you are informed until we are able to talk on this pod again. Don't forget to check out our handles. You can find me on Drea at Instagram at Ravine Queen 1958. You can find Cody at X at Snavely Cody 6, and you can find Anthony on X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _. Again, don't forget to check out DodgersBeat.com. We have everything there for you: pregame, postgame, you name it. And until next round, let's go Dodgers.